Hello, welcome to Chess League TV. I am Quirked, and today we shall be going over a recent tournament I played. I played a tournament and it was a 7-round Swiss. It was an under 2200, so I was one of the highest rated players there. I think after the 2 days joined, I ended up being the 5th or 6th seed out of 50 or so. And I didn't play great. I didn't score great. I'm gonna take these out because I can't hear anything. I ended up scoring 4.5 out of 7, which is okay. It's +2. But it actually, I think the reason I ended up doing so poorly was I lost in round 1, which is really bad when you're one of the highest seeds. You're always playing down in round 1, and you really don't lose that round 1 game because it just means you're going to be playing down basically the entire tournament. I never played anyone over 2100 even because I lost in the first round, and it was really a loss. I just hung a knight. There wasn't really much to see. I was much better, and after move like 8, I was already just killing this 2000 as black. And then I gave him a knight, and then I lost because that's what happens when you give away your knights. So yeah, not obviously not happy with starting the tournament like that, but I did bounce back. I finished the tournament with 3 wins and 3 draws, so plus 3 after that really unfortunate mistake. I mean, my play, you'll see it. It still wasn't great, but I mean, it's better than giving away knights, I guess. We're gonna chill out, wait for some viewers, see what's up. Come on, turn the radio on. We chillin'. Oh, really? I have no idea. I don't really pay attention. Liam Vought's saying I'm streaming at the same time as John Bartholomew. I don't mind. This is the time I have. I'm playing tonight, so I can't really do it later. I just got back from work, so it is what it is. Not much to do about it, unfortunately. When we get a few more people, hopefully we get a few more people, we'll start the show. For now, we're chilling, we're jamming. You're not in the know. What are you not in the know about? Will there be game reviews? I'm not sure. That's a good question. It's unclear. Tina, the one of the moderators, has reached out to me about potentially doing game reviews. There's also talk about getting, um, you know, just a better player to do the game reviews, which I totally understand. I mean, it is a little bit strange that I do the game reviews for players who are, you know, my strength or stronger than me. I mean, I can. It just doesn't quite make sense. So I may do them. I may not. Who knows? Who knows? I do not know. Well, Liam, it looks like you are going to be the star of the show so far. Yeah, let's get started. I played a 7-round Swiss this weekend, and I ended up scoring 4.5 out of 7, which is okay. I was +2, but I was one of the higher seeds in the tournament, so you know I really should have been scoring +3 or +4 in this tournament, but I was hurt pretty badly by the fact that I lost in the first round to a 2000 rated player. That was very sad. Because when you lose when you're playing down in the first round, that like really hurts your tournament, and it makes it really hard to do well. I ended up bouncing back pretty well. I ended up on +2, which means I scored +3 over the last 6 games. But it just was sort of a very poor start to the tournament, especially because it was just a hung knight. So I'm not even going to show that game. I had a beautiful position. I hung a knight, so there's not much to do there. But this game was more interesting. This was my second round game. Yes, the Swiss gambit is normally to draw in the first round. You don't really want to lose, because then you put yourself at a disadvantage, especially because first place this tournament was 6 out of 7. So you lose the first round. It's a little tough to get 6 out of 7 when you lose the first round. But anyway, so yeah, this was a game. And here, my opponent plays this bishop f5 move. My opponent was this young kid, 1850. I'd actually played him recently, and I annihilated him after blundering an exchange in the middle game. That's always fun. But here, bishop f5 is a perfectly playable move, but you have to know your theory here. Because if you don't know your theory, you're actually going to end up being worse. So I decided to test him in this line because I had a feeling he didn't know the line, and I was right. So I got a beautiful position. Takes, queen b3. And this is a really common idea in the Slav. When black goes bishop f5 early, you can take and play queen b3, and you're putting pressure on black's weaknesses. And in this position, black is fine. In the position where white plays knight f3, here black is not fine after queen b3. But because I played e3 instead of knight f3, there's a key difference which shows up like very late in a long forcing variation. So here, if it doesn't want to be severely worse, black must play the move knight c6. And this is the forcing line I was talking about, and I sort of didn't believe my opponent would know this. And I was right, my opponent didn't know this. But the line goes like this, just to show it. Takes bishop d7, queen b3. The problem for white is like this is coming and this is coming. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the wrong line. I play this with e3. So takes queen b3. If black goes knight c6, which is clearly the best move, takes bishop d7. The white queen is very sort of out there, so she needs to come home to reality. Queen d1, and here black goes e5 with excellent compensation for his sacrificed pawn. I mean, I took on b7, but black has 3 pieces developed. He has good control of the center. He's 2 moves away from castling. Whereas as white, here I am sort of wondering how I'm going to complete my development. It's not so clear. And if you try and win a second pawn, well, then you're just asking for it. This is asking for it. In fact, it's really asking for it. How do I want to punish you for your sins? There's queen a5. There's bishop b4. This is a bridge too far, as they say. So yeah, I mean, my opponent played queen d7, and white always just gets incredibly strong position in these lines where black doesn't play knight c6. Because I go knight f3, and you know this stuff is coming, this stuff is coming, and yeah, black's not doing very well here. I was really hoping he'd play knight c6, which is actually kind of a losing move, because after knight e5 you can't take this knight. I guess it's not a losing move, but it's close to a losing move, because you can't take, this is a threat and this is a threat, so you lose. But if you play something like queen c7, I take this pawn, or what do I take? I can think about taking this pawn. There's this idea as well, though. But then this is complicated. But he played e6, which is a better move. Bishop b5. Basically, this is very, very forcing. Knight e5, queen c7, queen a4, rook c8. And I win a pawn by force. But my pieces become, you know, a little bit discoordinated, and black has some compensation for this pawn, but not after his next move, knight d7. This is a bad move. He should develop his pieces. Go bishop d6. And the computer comes up with this brilliant line where after knight takes c6, the computer castles and laughs at you because rook a8 is coming. So you actually don't have time to save the knight. But, okay, knight d7. I'm going to breeze through this because this is not the interesting part. Bishop e2, e5, castle. b3 is not a great move, but okay, it's fine. Here I miss basically a winning shot, knight b5. I'm going to come and take this pawn and be up 2 pawns. But I didn't play it because I'm bad at chess. Here, I don't know what I'm doing with rook b1. I should play a4. But okay, rook b1 is some stupid idea of mine. To put my rook on b2 where it's clearly on a great square. Good idea, Sam. Brilliant. And now, again, I should just play a4. It's a good move. I should push my passed pawn. I don't know really what I'm doing, but I play this move bishop d1. I want to go bishop c2. Trade the light square bishops, put both my rooks here, you know, put pressure on the c pawn, which is fine, but my opponent finds this nice move, bishop b7. And I totally missed what he's threatening. So after bishop c2, I hang an exchange. Not a good 2 rounds. I hung a knight in the first round, I'm hanging an exchange in this round. But this one's less bad, because here I actually have compensation for the exchange. I have a passed a pawn, I still have pressure on this c pawn. And so I actually still sort of like my position, even though objectively it's not great. I think my position is still pretty good. King d6, a4. He plays rook a8. This is a bad move because it allows me to just ratchet up the pressure with knight b4 coming. Here comes knight b4, rook c8, knight d3, f6, bishop d2, d7, and f4. So this is a move 38, and this was a tournament where there was a time control at 40 moves. So at this point, my opponent had 1 minute on his clock, And I am not being kind to him, giving him this decision with f4, with 1 minute on his clock, 2 moves for the time control. And I knew what the best response to this move was, but it's not at all obvious. So you have 1 minute to decide what you would play against f4 here. It's black to move. What would you play? You have 1 minute. My opponent had 1 minute on his clock to decide how to react to f4. I'll give you until my computer clock says 4:19. You don't want to make a move? Then you flag. It's 4:19. You would have had to play a move by now. No one wants to brave the waters of what black should play. It's not easy. c5 is interesting. C5 is an interesting move. It's not a good move, but it's an interesting move. So yeah, c5, it loses a pawn. That's not the end of the world, but you do lose a pawn. So after c5, I can play f5 check, or I can actually leave the pawn on f5 to control the e5 square and just take this. And this is probably very good for white. Now, there is equality in this position, but you have to find a good move for black. I saw them black. Well, c5 is not the worst move in the position. My opponent played a much worse move than c5. Yeah, so my opponent played g6, which is just a terrible move. But when you only have a minute, this is a really difficult decision to make. The g6 is a blunder. But the move he has to play, and the move that you have to find, which, you know, I might have found this, and it comes from understanding what the problems black is facing are. Black has to play f5. And the reason behind this move is you don't want to allow f5 check. And you're equalizing the space on the king side. And if we sort of liquidate over here, these open files will help the black rooks. Also, the black rook on d6 now has a square. That's part of the problem black is facing, is that his rook is getting sort of trapped on d6. So yeah, f5 is the best move with, you know, very complicated variations. I didn't really work it out, but it's clear that black isn't getting mate or anything, so black should be totally fine. After if knight e5, I don't even have to take this knight, I don't think. I might have to take this knight. But even if I take this knight, I'm not worse as black, I don't think. Here, black should be okay. But as said, my opponent played gf4, which is just terrible because I go bishop d4. Nasty little move. The rook has no square, so you must play c5. Takes, knight takes f4. King g3 is cute. I'm threatening mate. You have to play h5, and then I go b4. And I just have a really good position. Check. Knight takes c5, rook takes c5, rook takes c5. Here I missed a chance to make my life easy. I played dc5, which is winning, but complicated. Excuse me. The best move I totally missed. Knight e6. Brilliant. After, oops, no, not that. After knight e6, king g6, I have knight takes c5, and then I keep the files closed. And I'm just going to push my A and B pawns. And black really doesn't have much counterplay. So yeah, this was a better way to play as white. But okay, d takes c5 is still winning, but it's not easy. Here black goes f5, an excellent move from black. And the position becomes very, very difficult. So the best move here is to play knight e6. After king f6, oops, sorry, king f6, you go g takes, king takes, check, king e3, and after this move rook g8, which looks a little bit scary, you can actually go b5, and the point is, if rook g3, there's knight f3 check, and these pawns just start rolling down the board. But I didn't find this, which I don't blame myself, it's very complicated. I just played gf5, which is winning, but not easily winning. So, according to the computer, I think it said white has like one clearly winning move in this position. Yeah, there's only one clearly winning move in this position. I played the obvious move, knight takes d5, which is a draw, surprisingly. But when you see how the game played out, you'll start to understand why this move is a draw. So after knight d3, exclam, super exclam, this is winning. And the reason is rook g8, b5, rook g3, king e2, king e4, b6 exclam. You can give this knight because after rook takes d3, c6, these pawns queen themselves. So very difficult, very complicated ending. I didn't play this way because would. What? It's too hard. Chess is too hard. So knight d5, my opponent can play king e5 and the position is drawn, but he didn't. He played rook f8. I played king e3, which is bad. Basically, we blundered every move. Every move I should be winning and I play a bad move and then it's drawing. And every move he should be drawing, but then he plays a bad move and I'm winning again. I should play the move knight b6 and I'm going to push my A and C pawns. And good luck. But instead I played king e3 and then he goes king e5, which is again not a good move. He should go like rook g8 and take my pawns. But okay, he goes king e5. And here I played knight b6, which is what I should have played last move. But now it's not good anymore because now he's going to come and take my pawn, and his king is really close to my c pawn, so my c pawn can't run anymore. So here I have to go knight c7, and then the A and B pawns run, and that's better for me because the king is not close to the A and B pawns. He's close to the C pawn. So it makes more sense to run the pawns that are further away from the king. But okay, I play knight b6. And now the position is a draw, which greatly surprised me. But yeah, there's not much to be done here. a5, check, king f2 takes a6, and it looks vaguely winning for black, or sorry, for white, excuse me. In fact, I saw this position like 5 moves back, or maybe even longer back, and I was like, oh, this is winning for me. And then we get to this position, and I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. This is not winning for white at all, because black goes rook h2. The point is, if you come and try and track down the a pawn immediately, I win your rook, and you're sad. But you can track down the a pawn from a different square, and then I'm sad. So yeah, this is just a draw, and actually, I need to be careful as white, because if I'm not careful, I'm going to lose. In fact, he was winning at one point. Crazy, I went from a totally winning position to a losing position. So after h3, he has a sneaky threat. And I had like 2 minutes left, and I couldn't figure out anything. Because I'm bad at chess. Chess is too hard. So I played the move c6, a losing move. And it loses for very simple reasons. After c6, he goes king f4. And I cry. Because it's very hard to stop king g3, h2, rook a1. So this is a problem, which means I have to play the move knight c4, check. And then after king f4, there's only one move that draws for white. This is why I couldn't figure it out, because it's too complicated. What's the only move that draws for white? He has one move. If you don't play this move, you lose. White to play and draw. Only move. Yeah, knight d6. Knight d6 is an only move. The point is, you have to be able to meet king g3 with a check. If you go a7, you lose. Good luck stopping checkmate. But knight d6 is a really good move that I didn't see during the game. Because it looks like it sort of isn't doing anything, but the point is, after check king g3, I check you a whole bunch. Check. Check. And here I'm doing good. Well, I'm not doing good, but it's a perpetual. Check. Because the point is, if you want to hunt down my knight, say here, if you go a move like king g4, this gives me the time I need to do things with my pawns. Like, for instance, b5 or b6 looks like a pretty good move. So, yeah, I mean, if you don't do anything, I'm gonna go b7, b8, and then the nice thing about queening on the b8 square is I'm attacking your pawn, so I can just take it, and I'll sack the queen if I have to. I also, if your king ever shows up on g3, it's check. So, yeah, so interesting position. I blundered with c6. It's winning for him, but he didn't see it because it's confusing. He played h2, and now it looks like really dangerous because it looks like he's gonna go king g3 and mate me, but I have this miracle save a7, and this time it works because my knight's still guarding the a8 square. So if you go king g3, I'm gonna queen, and you can't just like take me because I take you back, and then I win. Then I'm really happy. So after a7, he has to take my pawn. I take his pawn, and this is a draw. In the worst case, I'm gonna end up with knight versus rook, which is drawn. And after knight c4, I offered a draw because I don't really want to play the knight versus rook for like 20 moves. And he took the draw. He's much lower rated than me. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. As black, I might have played on to get the rook versus knight. But the thing is, I'm not worried about king takes c4. It's actually not a threat. So I just play like my king up or something. This is interesting. He could go wrong. If he takes the knight, he's losing again because of b6. And these pawns promote themselves. Very tricky. You have to look out for these. Say like check, king f4, you can't actually come up and take this because I push either pawn, and I'm going to make queens. So yeah, it was an interesting game. A draw, but I did throw away much easier positions because I thought this. I really thought this ending was winning with the 3 versus 1, but it turns out it's like really difficult to win this as white. So that's just something where my knowledge was lacking a little bit. I thought this would be an easy win, but I just really misevaluated this ending, and I played it badly as well. So when you misevaluate things and then play bad things happen. Okay, enough about this game. This is my round 3 game. I played a kid rated 1900. He was much better for a while, but we'll get there. So I was black. No, rooks are great at stopping pawns. Knights stopping pawns. You want to stop a pawn with a rook, just stick it behind the pawn. So this is a really interesting position. I have this as black. I'll flip it around. And I couldn't really find the... you did see an exchange French. Like, think of it from this kid's perspective. He's 1900. He's playing a 2150 rated player. You bet your ass he's playing the exchange French. I get the exchange French so often, and I don't mind because I just get equality and then I outplay these people. Except for games like this when I don't outplay them until I do. Well, here black is just better because black has more space in the center. But I played bad. So here I couldn't really think of a way to improve my position. So I played this move c takes d4, which is not a good move. The reason c takes d4 is not a good move is I'm trading my strong c5 pawn for his less strong c3 pawn. I'm extending the scope of his dark square bishop. It's just not a good move on principle. But this is sort of what happens when you don't really see a good move. You play bad moves. But there is a good move for black. What should black play in this position? Black has a really good move. And once I saw it, I was like, or once I was analyzing this game, I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm terrible at chess. I mean, I say that every game, of course. But this is just very good for black if he plays correctly here. So what should black play? Also, nice to have you, Ben Schlongberg. So queen c7, you're actually going to regret this as black. Because if you notice, white has recently lined up some pieces on this e file. So queen c7 is going to get slammed by knight take f7. And here white is actually just winning, outright winning. So queen c7, totally unplayable. You have to be really worried about this knight here. It's currently not a threat because if you go knight takes f7, I go king takes, and I guard my knight. But if the queen leaves this knight, he's really vulnerable. Knight h5. Knight h5 is actually interesting. This was something I definitely considered during the game. The idea behind knight h5 is just to sort of converge on this f4 square. The reason I didn't play knight h5 is I thought that white would just play g3. And it's not exactly clear what I've accomplished by sending my knight out to Siberia on h5. I mean, I can go back and claim that g3 is a weakening move, but I'm not convinced that's a very good claim. because it's not easy to attack these pawns. This bishop doesn't. I mean, the bishop has a nice diagonal, but no. So play logical chess. I know I'm asking a lot because I didn't find this in the move. But what's like the most logical move for black to make here? Just sort of, you're playing blitz. Knight e4. Knight e4 is brilliant for black. And here's what I missed. I thought he could take and play knight d2, and I was like, oh, I'm losing a pawn. But I'm not losing a pawn. I play f5. And in fact, my position, black is just like almost winning. Because I have two beautiful bishops, and your knight's a little bit suspicious here. If you're not careful, I'll move this knight and like take a free pawn. And I have a ton of space in the center, and this knight is not doing very good right now. Although it could come to c4, so okay, it has a future on c4. But no, black's just doing really, really well here. He has a ton of control in the center. I missed this f5 move, which seems so simple and obvious. But sometimes the simple and obvious stuff is the easiest stuff to miss. But the point is, if he can't play bishop takes e4, if he doesn't want to play bishop takes e4, then this is just brilliant for black. And then I'll bring my rook somewhere. Or I might just play f5 anyway. Play like rook f8, f5, f4. Looks like a great position for black. So yeah, knight e4 is just really strong. I played cd4, which is not good. Rook c8. And here my opponent made a really good move. He played knight h4. And here I was like, oh, this is a problem. Because he wants to play knight f5. And knight f5 is just a big time disaster. But the real problem is that g6 is unplayable. Because on g6, hey, remember this problem we had here? Knight takes g6. And white just wins instantly. Again, very sad. So after knight h4, I found the only move that black has to stay in the game. What is black's only move here? Black has a simple only move, or else he loses instantly. Whether he loses tactically or positionally, one of the two is going to happen. Excellent move, Liam Watts. Knight g4. Only move in the position. It's a total only move. You're not being crazy. What else? This is the only move for black to stay in the game. If you don't play this, you lose. Because if you play... So for example, you can't play queen f8 because this shot is working again. Very sad. If you go knight e4, white is going to at least grab a bishop pair if he wants to. But I mean, even just looking at this position, like, these knights are killers. But knight g4 poses some problems to white. White should probably keep the queens with this move. But my opponent played knight f5, which I think is not as good. After knight takes g4, I think white is still better here, but at least black isn't like dying on f5 anymore. In fact, I can even just go back to e7. I don't think black is better, but I don't think black is so much worse there. But knight f5, I get to trade the queens. I'm very happy. We get this position. I'm going to zoom through this. My opponent actually, despite being a child 1900, he sort of outplayed me in the ending, which is a little bit sad. Sad for me. The problem is I don't have any space and none of my pieces are good. That's a big problem to have. Bishop b4 was a bad move because I never really want to play bishop c3. It's my good bishop and that's his bad bishop, so I don't know why I'm playing bishop b4. It's a stupid move. Knight g4, and I start to have issues. So he's ruined his pawn structure, but this is actually really good for him because now my king can never do anything, and he's going to be up a king in the ending. Rook e, he's not threatening to take this because of bishop c6. And now my knight's on h7, which is ridiculous. Bishop e7, bishop e6. So this is move 40. This next move is white's move 40. So let me ask, what would you play as white here? He hasn't hit the time control yet. He has to make one more move. Zenerlot, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, plays bishop takes g6. This was played in the game. f5, also very interesting. I, without a question, would have instantly played the move king e3. And the reason is, I just want to make a move. And I'm going to ask you what you're doing. Or maybe, okay, king e3 wasn't so brilliant, because I blocked the rook 5. But I basically want to make a pass. Maybe I play, like, rook e1. I just want to pass. And the reason I want to pass is I want to make time control. And I'll decide something committal on the next move. My opponent did play bishop takes g6, which is not a good move, actually. The best move in the position is f5, which just breaks down the position. And black's king is actually potentially in trouble here. So black definitely needs to be worried after f5. But after bishop takes g6, I was actually happy I was black here. And the reason I was happy is I'm losing a pawn, but what is happening here after bishop takes g6? So I'm losing a pawn, but we're trading away my bad bishop for his good bishop, and he's allowing my king to come into the game. In this position, my king can't do anything. It can never move. After bishop takes g6, you open up the position for the black king. So I think bishop takes g6 is actually not a good move, even though it wins material, because it solves a lot of black's positional problems. So I was really happy when this happened, because all of a sudden I have a king, my worst piece is gone, so my drawing chances increased a lot here. Rook d6, rook c2. He played this move, bishop d8. He wants this check, but I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of hope chess. I didn't really understand this. Knight f8, takes. And here he plays this really terrible move, rook e5. Yeah, he starts to fall apart here. It's sort of funny. He's been playing really well. And this happens with kids a lot of the times. They play really, really well, and then they just blow up. And that's exactly what happened. After rook e5, my knight comes into the game with devastating effect, knight e6. Here you should go rook d5, and the position is just a draw. sorry, after knight e6, rook d5, I kind of have to take this, and this is just a drawn rook ending. But instead he played this move, bishop e7, which now he lost. Like, all of a sudden, he's been playing, like, really, really good chess, and then, like, three bad moves in a row, and he was just dead lost. Takes. Here I can take here, but I played knight c6 instead. And he really put the nail in the coffin. He has to play the move rook d5. I don't know why you wouldn't play this move, but he played king d5. Okay, I'll take the exchange and win easily. So yeah, this is just an easy win from here. The rook cuts out the king, and I'm going to force a zugzwang, winning king and pawn. So sometimes that happens with lower-rated players, especially kids. You just sort of move around, even if you're worse, and then they implode. I do that a lot. I just move around, and then they do something stupid. And that's what happened. That's how I win games. Did anything interesting happen in this fourth round game? This game was not very interesting. I positionally outplayed a kid in the fourth round. Not a terribly interesting game. This game was somewhat interesting, but not so interesting. Okay. Oh, I had black in this game. So this was a King's Indian attack that went really, really wrong for white. Because if you know anything about the King's Indian attack, you know that the white pawn is supposed to be on e5, and white's supposed to have a space advantage on the king side. It's not supposed to be a black pawn on e5 in the king attack. So my opponent really misplayed the opening, and I got this beautiful position. And we trade into this ending. And this ending is just much better for me because of this weakness on d3. Knight f3, knight b4. I invade the weak queen side. a5. So my opponent plays this move, bishop h3. And this is the critical point in the game. I sort of flicked out this move a4 because I had played a5 to go a4 and weaken the queenside pawns. But can anyone explain why is a4 a blunder? a4 just totally annihilates the black advantage. Black had a massive advantage here, and now black has close to nothing. I'm out of the light. I'm gonna come into the light. Yeah, so it's not so much about the bishop. In fact, if I drop back with a move like bishop f7, this is actually a very poor move because then comes bishop d7. This pawn is actually unsolid. So the sound is kaput. Why is the sound kaput? Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Maybe I dropped frames. Strange. So yeah, the problem here is after a4, she takes and goes a3, and here I was like, oh crap. I realized what I had done. And the key thing is, black's winning idea is to just put the knight c5. When the knight comes to c5, white can resign. The game is over. But by playing this move a4, my knight's not going to c5 anymore, very sadly. Because after takes a3, b4, you can play knight c5, but it's not a good move anymore. So yeah, this is a big problem. And I drew this game because there's simply no way to win anymore. Black has no advantage. So what I should do, instead of this a4 move, which is totally ridiculous, I should just take the bishop, play knight e6, go knight c5. I mean, what do you do about this? I'm going to play knight c5 next move. And you're going to cry. I guarantee it. You can't stop knight c5. If you go a3, bishop c3. You still can't stop knight c5. If you go b4, I'll take the b4 pawn, and I'm still going to go knight c5. So, I mean, this is just lost. Totally lost. Like, simple play. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. This is so simple. It's disgusting. Like, there's nothing to be done. So yeah, this was an annoying way to draw a game after I played very well up to this point. I mean, two more games in the tournament. In round 5 or round 6, I guess, I had white against an 1800. He had 3 points out of 5 though, so he had been having a good tournament. What is that? What's making that noise? Stop that. It's very annoying. So we got a Dutch. I play this sort of anti-Dutch, but I totally forgot my theory. I'm supposed to take this. And then you go bishop d3 and queen f3, and you attack this pawn a million times. And then you go h3, g4, and all that. But I totally forgot everything I know about the Dutch, and I played e3 here. Which, it's fine. It's playable for white. This was an interesting game. We just get a stonewall position, but I think white is much better here. I have control of the e5 square. He still has this bad bishop. I'm going to play f3. And that's what happened. I'm going to prepare this e4 break. We trade knights. Yeah, c5 is really good. Yeah, it's probably unchessable. I mean, it's a very normal line. I have it in my files. I just didn't remember it because I never. When I play, I never get position. So when I play online, everyone plays e6, which is a totally different line because white gets to go e4. But here d5 is a better move, but no one ever plays it, so I just forgot what to do. And I played e3, which is totally playable. Like, look, white gets a brilliant position here. Yeah, white's just much better. I have full control over the position. I'm going to go e4. But I actually decided not to go e4. And the reason is, if I go e4 here, he gets to trade everything. So this, I wasn't sure I really had much advantage here. Even after e5, I gained some space. I'm not totally convinced I have... Actually, no, this is just unplayable, right? Because of takes. Unless I'm, like, mating, which maybe I am. But, yeah, you can't play e5. So maybe you can go c takes, though. Something like c takes, e5, takes. I don't know. This is an interesting position. I'm not sure white is so much better here. And the reason I'm not sure white is so much better here is white has more space, but black has a stronger knight, and there's not very many pieces left on the board, so the space shouldn't mean too much. Although, I mean, I'm not sure how to evaluate this position. There's ideas of like knight f4. It's just very difficult to gang up on this pawn or start a kingside attack. So I think white doesn't really have much here. So instead of playing e4, I played, I think, objectively a stronger move, which is c5. And the point is, black doesn't really have a good place to go with this knight. He went knight f7 in the game, but then I thought I played, continued to play well with g4. And what I'm doing with this g4 move is I'm forcing black to play g6. Because he just has to. Otherwise, he's losing a pawn somewhere on f5 or 7. So he has to play g6, but now this bishop is just dead to the world. he can never play with this bishop ever. And so I think white has a big advantage here based on the bad bishop. Knight g3, knight h6. Here I play a terrible move, h3. That's ridiculous. I should instantly play g5. And the reason is, this structure is absolutely horrendous for black. And the reason it's so horrendous for black is the black knight can literally never get to e5, but the white knight very easily gets into e5. Sorry, the black knight never gets to e4 is what I meant to say, because these squares are gone. So this structure is just absolutely horrific for black, and I should play it instantly. But okay, I play h3, which is a bad move. Queen e7, queen g2. I'm going to meet e5 with gf5. And this is pinned, so he can't do this. And here he plays queen g7, and by this point I figured out g5, f4, h5, queen c2, knight d8, rook b1, b5. And here I'm an idiot. I played cb6, which is a ridiculous move. And the reason I played cb6 is I was convinced that after a takes b6, I was going to play rook takes b6 and win a pawn. Now, to my astute viewers, you might notice there's a slight problem with this plan. And the slight problem with this plan is that I have a b pawn. Who knew? I did not know I had a b pawn. So cb6 is just totally ridiculous. Here, I should play literally any other move, namely b4. And after b4, you're going to cry, because I'm going to go a4. I'm going to triple on the a file, and that's going to be good for you. And this knight's going to come to e5, and you're not going to do anything. And I'm going to do everything that I want. So this position is just lost for black. What's the engine say? And the engine says plus 1.3. And it's giving a5, and here I would go a4 exactly. And white is just much better. Because none of your pieces are useful. All my pieces are useful, all of your pieces are terrible. But after cb6, the problem is all of a sudden this knight finds a way to e4. We were so happy about the structure with the pawn on c5, and now I don't have that structure anymore, and I'm sad. b4, b5, clamping down on a4. And I get to force a4 through. But the problem is, I can't really do anything with this. There's a couple things. The first off, if I push a5, I don't really understand how I'm going to win this position. Because even if I bring this knight around to e5, black just puts his bishop on e8, and he's going to defend this a million times, and there's not much I can do about it. And if I bring the knight to c5, he puts it on c8, and there's not much I can do about it. And I can put all my heavy pieces on the c file, but then he goes knight c4, and there's not much I can do about it. So I never really want to play a5, because I don't see how I win. But after we trade everything on the a file, I just, like, how do I win this ending? Spoiler alert, I won this ending, but I had a lot of help. Oops. Okay. Let's see how I won this ending. I got a lot of help. So we maneuver around, because no one can do anything. And here he goes knight e8, which is ridiculous, because he's worried about bishop takes h5, so he wants to put his knight on g7, which is so stupid I can't even explain it. But okay, it's still not losing, because it's impossible to win this ending. He put his knight on g7, which which isn't losing because it's impossible to win this ending. Knight c5. He plays bishop c8. And surprisingly, I've achieved a winning position. So white to play and win. So, knight d3, I have this move bishop d7, right? And your idea is going to, I'll go bishop d8. And I do guard g6. So knight d3 is not winning. But that idea is in the air. Maybe it's part of the winning idea. I find it laughable that I won this game, because this game is totally, like, just a totally unwinnable position. And my opponent played so bad that I ended up winning. How do we win? Take 2 more minutes. After 2 more minutes, I'll give the answer away. Perhaps, Zenerlot. Perhaps. Correct. You pass. Black has no move. It's really beautiful, I think. In the game, I played bishop f1. It's all the same. Black has no move. I find this so amusing. There's a couple key variations. What happens on knight e8? Sort of an obvious move. Now knight d3. And the point is, unfortunately for you, well, okay, you won't play bishop d7, but you don't have this maneuver. And this was an important square. And the same can be said about king c6. Just knight d3. And if bishop d7, I come in with check, take that. So this just wins for white. It's sort of strange. I mean, even here, this is just a draw. Black goes bishop e8. And what does white do? Although here white had some idea. What was the idea? Oh yeah, here white goes white can go like h4. And the problem for black is the white knight has to come into the position now. Although, I'm trying to remember the line. There was some line I had. Because if bishop f7, this knight starts, you know, jiving on like f6. That's a little scary. But what happens on bishop c6 here? This one I'm not sure. Let me turn on the engine. Okay, it makes a pass move. The engine is screaming that this is winning, but why, as they say. Yeah, the engine's confused. This is still a draw. Okay, yeah. So he played bishop e8 and just draw, but he played bishop c8 and he gets zigzagged. Chess is brutal sometimes. All right, last one. I got another King's Indian attack as black. My French got tested a lot this tournament. I had 4 blacks and four players playing 1e4. This was not a good game from me, but I got out unscathed. This was a final round draw for me. Liam linking a game. Let me take a look at this. Yes, this is a very famous game. Yes, exactly. That structure is so dominant for white. Yes. I think there's a Alyekin has a structure like that in one of his games as well, where Alyekin just has a beautiful structure. So everything's been pretty normal. This is a much better King's Indian attack for the white side. White has established his strong pawn on e5. He has space. If he gets to play d4, he'll have a pretty good position. And here my opponent played a move that surprised me, but is really good. My opponent played this move rook b1. And I'm not sure if this is like a standard idea in this position that I'm just not aware of, because he played this fairly quick. And it's a good move. He just wants to go b4, b5. And then he'll go d4. And then I don't really have any counterplay. So yeah, this was an interesting move by my opponent. I played knight f5, g4, knight h4. I just want to trade off some pieces because I don't have very much space. b4, I took the bishop because I like bishops. And here I start to do some dubious things. I took on b4, which is okay. It's not great, but it's okay. C takes b4. And here I played bishop b5. And bishop b5 is a blunder. Here I just have to admit that I'm a little bit worse. This position, my minor pieces are all quite restricted, but I'm going to get some play on the queen side. I'm going to go queen d7, bring this rook to c8, a6, and I'm going to play on the a and c files, and I'll at least have some counterplay here. But instead, I didn't want to give up this d4 break, so I played the move bishop b5, and bishop b5 is actually a blunder, but it's a really complicated move. So what should white play after bishop b5? So interesting. Uh, Zenerla, you have the right idea, but your variation has executed that very poorly. You need to see, because here's the thing: if you play a4, you meant a4 by the way. If you play a4 and you don't see like a forced win, then you're really giving away a pawn. So you better have a fully fleshed out variation after a4. That is a much more permanent variation. So here, if rook a1, black should be okay, although I have to figure out why. Here after rook a1, oh no, I take this. Of course, I'm winning. Black is just winning in this position. But the much more critical variation is rook b4. And this is the move I missed. Rook b4 is very strong. But it's not the end of the story. How does play continue? Because my opponent did not correctly execute this variation. But there is a winning continuation for white here. Bishop c2, knight e1 at the end of the variation. Complicated. You have to be precise. There's only one winning idea for white here. Why does the bishop have to go? Bishop c2, knight e1 is black play. That's definitely not the end of the variation. That's more like it. I don't think this variation quite works, but that is at least a more accurate variation. Rook c1, knight df3. Queen c7. Rook f2. The problem, I believe, here is I have this move. Or maybe this move. Although I'm not sure about this move, because maybe this move allows bishop a3. So I'll play this move, queen c3. Ah, no, you play knight takes. No, that doesn't work. That does not work. So this knight e1 move is interesting. I will say I'm pretty sure this doesn't work. And the reason is I had a sneaky plan. My opponent played better. So I played bishop c2. My opponent played knight d4, which is just a better move. The thing about knight e1 is you're cutting this f rook out of the action. And here's what I had planned. After knight e1, I would go queen c7, knight df3, rook on f to c8, rook f2, and I would sneak this one in, bishop f8. This is a sneaky little unwind. And the reason this is so sneaky is now, okay, if you take, you're actually losing a lot because this bishop is unprotected. And if you move the rook, say, well, where are you moving the rook? That's a good question. Rook b2, okay. I have bishop a4 again. And it's not clear exactly how you're winning this piece. In fact, I'm threatening to take your bishop on c1. So this is close to the winning idea. But my opponent was more accurate. Knight d4. Queen c7. Knight 2f3. Rook fc8. And here, an excellent move from my opponent. Absolutely excellent. If you go rook f2, you're going to be in big trouble after bishop takes d3. Black is winning. Because I'm hitting your bishop, my next move will be bishop e4 and winning my bishop. So here my opponent played the excellent move, bishop d2. Very, very good move. And I continued with my idea, bishop f8. And here my opponent blundered. If he goes rook b2, I'm just lost. The point being, after bishop a4, there's rook a1. Dead lost. And so I have to take. And I have two pawns for the piece, but I mean, This is just not a good position. It's just, yeah. No, I mean, white should just be winning here very clearly. He's an extra piece. So, my opponent should just play rook b2, it's just winning. But he played this far inferior move, rook c1, because now I get 2 pawns and an exchange, which is a much different situation. Because here I might actually be better. The game ended fairly quickly because I had slightly misplayed it. Sorry, this knight to d4. But I have a strong rook. I mean, my knight is on a great square. What did he play? King f3. Oh, sorry, no, I'm. Oh, I've hung my rook. Let me go rook b2 first. Knight c4, and here I misplayed. I played a6. Was not a good move. I should play. Ooh, okay. I should play the move a5. And I mean, he has to take, or else my a pawn just runs down the board. But then I have a b pawn. My b pawn can start running down the board. Not at all clear. But after a6, the game pretty much ends in a draw. And that's a fork. I have to pin. And after knight c2, we just repeated moves. He can try this. It's tricky, but there's d4 here. And this is very complicated. After something like takes, check, king f2, you can go rook a3 here, you can go b5, but I think black is better. So it was an interesting game. I slightly misplayed, but I was just happy to draw because I knew I was losing at one point. I had seen that whole variation. I just had to he didn't see the variation, which he didn't. And I mean, that's sometimes what happens. You play lower rated players and you get in a sharp variation and you just hope they make a mistake, and he did. And so a little bit lucky, but I mean, luck goes to the skilled. Is it, they say something like that? Yeah, I don't really know. Anyway, that was my tournament. I ended on 4.5 out of 7. I showed you 6 of my games because the first game I lost by just hanging a piece. So, you know, it is what it is. So that game wasn't very interesting. But yeah, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'm going to sign off because I got to eat, and then I'm going to go play chess tonight as well because I'm crazy. But yeah, I will. I'll see you all. See all you guys another time. Have a great evening.